Joining us right now on the Daily Dose, we are bringing back some friends of the Dose to check in on the 2022 NFL season at the midway point and kind of see, can we figure out how the second half is going to play out? And I'll warn you ahead of time, it's not going to be easy. First up, we have Big Rob, undefeated Philadelphia Eagles fan, who is the sitting president of the Daily Dose I-Team. Rob, welcome back to the Dose. 2 weeks in a row, you are back again.
Yes, it's good to be here as always. Love to talk football.
Next up, we have Mike from Castle Rock, a very defeated Denver Broncos fan. You are back. Welcome back, Mike.
Appreciate it. Always love talking about football, just like echoing what Rob said, but it's been a rough last few years as a Bronco fan, so we'll get through it.
Yes, it has. Finally, we have the savvy, wily veteran, Larry from Centennial, also a miserable Broncos fan, is joining us. Larry, football season is going just exactly how we thought it would. No surprises whatsoever. This is all how we thought it would play out, right?
Greatest thing about this, I have a new term, emotionally disconnected. So, it's all good.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, nobody goes undefeated, buddy. Nobody goes undefeated.
We'll see.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Hey, Rob, I wish I had your problems. I wish that I could talk about how my team, I don't know, they might only, lose 1 or 2 games. Yeah, that'd be neat. We did that in the first couple of weeks. We have a number of things to get to today, but before we dive into specific divisions and specific teams, we do have a few storylines I kind of want to talk about. Gentlemen, I know that here in Denver, we weren't even aware that scoring touchdowns was allowed, but it's not just here. Scoring across the league is down 43 average total points per game. That's the lowest output that the NFL has seen since 2010. But why? Is it the bad quarterback play? Our defense is just better? Is it horrible coaching? We do see a lot of weird decisions. This league wants scoring. Rob, why aren't they getting the scoring that they want?
I would say it's a little bit of bad quarterback play. And I think more so just the way the defenses are playing. I think a lot of defenses are kind of sitting back, trying to not give up that big play. So a lot of teams have to dink and dunk, move their way down. A lot of teams can't do that because of the quarterback play. So I think that's why, just the kind of the way the defense is playing overall in the league.
Mike, you got any ideas? Why can we not get scoring in this league right now?
Yeah, I kind of want to echo what Rob was saying there. I think with the exception of a handful of, elite quarterbacks, overall quarterback play is down. Defenses may be catching up a little bit. I mean, it is cyclical, defenses do tend to catch up, and then offenses come up with new wrinkles and figure things out. I don't know. It's interesting. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was going to mention that as well. Scoring is down there. I mean, how many games have there been with teams winning with less than 14 points? It's been weird.
Really weird. Larry, you got any ideas of how can we fix this scoring in the NFL this year?
Well, I don't know if you can fix it. I think it's just something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you're right. I mean, we thought in Denver we were, had some sort of allergy to scoring touchdowns. If you look, when I look at the games, I see bad quarterback play. I see bad receiver play. We've seen a number of drop passes. And then I go watch another game, and it's happening all over the place. They're just, and not to get too deep into it, but if you have to pay a receiver so much, you got one receiver, they're locked up, and you don't have the other guys to go to. I'll also say, I don't know the stats on this, but there feels like there's more, going for it on fourth down. If there's more going for it on fourth down, there's going to be more, turnovers on possession. And if there's more turnovers on possession, there's less scoring. So
good points by all of you. It does make me wonder, all the less practice time, all the less hitting time, offensive lines aren't as good. But like Larry said, wide receivers sometimes aren't as good. Quarterbacks definitely aren't as good. Somewhere, I feel like Bill Walsh is ripping the hair out of his head watching these quarterbacks going, what are you doing? I'm watching Josh Allen, who might be the most talented quarterback we have right now. I'm watching guys like Lamar Jackson, really, really talented. And yet sometimes there are plays where you go, I don't know if you guys know how to play quarterback. I don't know what they would look like in a different situation where they were getting those reps. They were getting that time to get better. And that, I don't know. It feels like we've scaled back the practice time so much that it might be hurting these guys in the games. One other story. Well, we've got a few stories here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady, he's having an up and down season. The Bucs are below 500. It's not all Brady. The defense is inconsistent. He is starting to look his age a little bit more. He's getting frustrated with the offensive line, which is bad. Receivers are dropping passes. But now we've also found out that Brady is going through a divorce with his supermodel wife, Gisele Bündchen. Mike, is Gisele actually a witch that was giving Brady his powers all this time? And will she get custody of Rob Gronkowski?
Maybe. I don't know. It's interesting to see that after the Astros win the World Series, Justin Verlander's supermodel wife go up there and do nothing but tout him. Hey, if he wants to play more, he can play more. He can do it. We're behind him. We're a family. Doesn't seem to be that way in the Brady household. I don't know. It's a weird situation, but who knows how much I hate that it even is even a topic in the NFL. I care less about people's personal lives, but I don't know. It's the Kardashians meet the NFL. I'm done with it.
I think the lesson here is that Kate Upton is definitely the way to go. Look, let's be honest. Blaming the officiating in any sport, it's always for losers, right? They have a thankless job. They get all the criticism. But how are we weighing in on the roughing the quarterback penalties that are being called? We saw them really go up after the Tua thing. They've kind of scaled back a little bit. It felt like a league directive, but the calls, some of these calls against quarterback, they go against the rule book. There's no rule that says you can't tackle the quarterback. Larry, should we indeed put dresses on the quarterbacks, or is that assuming their gender?
Well, they already have them on. They've had them on for a few years now. Yeah, those calls that we saw a couple of weeks ago were just out of control.
Yeah.
And I get it. And they're going to, continue to do that. I think, like we talked about, bad quarterback play. Well, the only way to get better quarterback play is to keep, quarterbacks upright and in the game so they can get better. Yeah, it's bad. And I think, for your a little more than average fan, it kind of goes against everything that you want to watch football for.
Right.
You love to see a quarterback get hit hard, but that doesn't happen anymore.
Agreed. Rob, are they making the right move by not allowing you to touch the quarterbacks?
No, I don't think they are. And I think, like you mentioned, I think a lot of it was just a snap reaction to the Tua situation.
Yep.
Kind of went overboard with it. It seems like they've dialed it back a little bit. But yeah, like Larry said, that's part of football. If you can get a clean hit on the quarterback, that should be allowed.
Well, and again, my problem with it is, show me in the rule book where I can't tackle the quarterback. Show me where it says you tackled him too hard. There's no rule. They're making it up as they go. Mike, we're here in Denver. We wish our quarterbacks would get tackled harder. Where are you coming in on this whole roughing the quarterback situation?
The problem is it's such a judgment call. There's never anything it's a black and white call. And when you leave things up to a judgment, you're going to have errors. And there were some just horrible roughing the passer calls a few weeks ago. I think Larry was, talking about that a little bit ago, but I don't know. It's some of it makes sense, tackling below the knees, late hits. I understand that, but some of these where you would have to defy physics to not land on the quarterback.
Right.
You're a 280, 300-pound guy going as hard as you can, and you finally get this quarterback wrapped up, and you're supposed to, in midair, change your trajectory so you don't land on the guy. It's going overboard. Yeah,
it feels silly, and it feels like you guys have kind of hinted around. It feels like it's going to drive fans away on some level. Fans are going to go, I don't want to watch it. This wasn't what I tuned in for. Let me go tune into MMA again. I don't like the idea. And I get protecting the quarterback. If you don't protect these guys, no one's going to tune in to watch the backups play. We've seen that here in Denver. We've seen a lot of that, but you've got to have some sort of sense with it. You know, we saw a number of deals go through at the NFL trade deadline. And while usually these deals are a lot to do about nothing, this year we actually saw a few that could be impactful. The San Francisco 49ers went and got running back Christian McCaffrey. The Denver Broncos sent pass rusher Bradley Chubb to Miami. They wanted to get back in the first round of the draft, and we knew he was probably gone anyways. The Detroit Lions sent tight end TJ Hawkinson to their division rival, Minnesota. Kind of odd. The Chicago Bears traded linebacker Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens and didn't get a whole lot. And running back wide receiver Kadarius Toney went from the New York Giants to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then when he got there, said, "Oh, I know I've been on the injury report, but I'm not hurt. I'm fine now." Shouldn't there be an investigation into some of that? You can't do that, right? That is kind of the integrity of the game. Rob, which of these moves do you like? Are there any moves out here that you don't like?
Well, I think the first one you said, CMC to the 49ers. I mean, that's huge with him and Debo in the backfield. Yeah, I think that's the biggest splash by far.
Any of these that you don't like? Any of these that don't matter to you?
No, I like them all. I think it kind of felt a little bit like baseball, whereas, you know, kind of at the deadline or the trade deadline, you know, teams are trying to help. They think, you know, we're close, we're 1 or 2 players away. And so it was a nice change to see that, you know, teams trying to grab, you know, that missing piece. Mike,
what about you? Any of these moves stand out to you?
Yeah, I agree. If he can stay healthy, that's a big get for the Niners.
Yeah.
The weapons are just incredible. I mean, you got a top tier tight end, you've got Debo Samuel, Ayuk, 2 great wide receivers, and now you got, you know, the Swiss Army knife there. His first full game, he throws a touchdown, catches a touchdown, runs for I mean, come on. And you got a creative play caller that's going to use him. I think as far as immediate impact, that's number 1 right there. I think I do think Denver's trade was good. I like it getting back in the first round, but funny thing is San Francisco gets better, and now we want them to do worse because we've got their pick ultimately. So, you know, it's got to be a late 20s pick probably, but getting back in the first round is important. And I think we're all in agreement. We most likely wouldn't have signed Chubb anyway, so you got good value for him.
Yeah, he's going to be up close to $100 million on that deal, and a bunch of that's going to be guaranteed. They don't have that money to give away. I know we don't like it, but you have to understand it. Larry, what about you? Any deals at the trade deadline that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, nothing other than what has already been talked about. You got to give Lynch and Shanahan credit. I mean, if you don't have a quarterback that's like super dynamic,
and they don't,
get somebody who can play around the line of scrimmage. And that's exactly what McCaffrey does. He proved it with that, like Mike said, that game where he threw and ran and caught, right? And so that was by far the biggest splash. I think the others they could have happened, could have not happened. And I don't think anyone would have cared.
Yeah, I like the Ravens getting Roquan Smith. I think the Ravens might be a team to watch coming down the second half of the season. They may get a little bit better. We'll see if he helps that defense a little bit. It's weird to talk about that defense sometimes not getting it done. We're just so used to them being good. You know, every year we look at the previous season, we see how the teams did. We go based on that, based on a few offseason moves. Here's how we think this is going to go. Here's the teams that'll be below average. And then we're going through the season going, wait a minute, are they actually good? I'm not sure if they're good. Like, they might actually be good. Did they improve that much? Did they have a softer schedule? Whatever it might be, if you had to pick a surprise right now, who would be the surprise that you'd be looking at and going, I didn't expect much from them at all? Mike, I'll put you up first. Who is your surprise team through the first half of the season, a team that is standing out to you going, I just didn't see that coming?
Good God, pick a New Jersey team.
Yeah, you're right.
Seriously, toss a coin between the two of them. Unbelievable what they've both done. I think, and I don't know if you're going to revisit this, but I think in our preseason, we both expected these two teams, the Giants and Jets, just to be dog butt teams.
Yep.
And I think we kind of liked the direction that they were headed, but nobody expected them to be at or near first place in their division halfway. No way.
Yeah,
It's a
Jets and
coin toss
Giants.
for those two.
Okay, Jets and Giants have both been very, very surprising. Larry, what about you? Who's your surprise so far this year?
Oh, by far it's Seattle, right?
Yeah.
I picked them to be dead last, and
Yeah.
they're first, and supposedly a tough division by a couple games, right? So by far and away, it's Seattle. I don't know if they're that good.
I
To
don't
your
either.
point, right?
Yeah.
But so far they are.
They've played really, really well. And Pete Carroll's like 90, but he's not a dumb guy, and he's going out and he's winning with running the ball, playing decent defense, and then putting Geno Smith in situations where he can be successful.
Yeah.
I know that's shocking news to us here in Denver that someone would do that, but that's what he's doing, and it's working really, really well.
Yeah, I don't know how the players that they're getting it done with, they're just kind of getting it done.
Yeah,
so you got to give them credit.
For sure. Rob, who's your surprise so far this year?
For me, it's the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
A team that's been competitive, haven't been great, but way better than I thought. Seems like they're in every game. They're still, because it is Atlanta, they're still giving up those fourth quarter leads.
Sure.
But they have been, competitive and fun to watch this season.
There's an interesting thing going on, and I want to bring this up. I'm glad you brought up Atlanta, Rob. There are a couple teams in the league right now, Chicago, Atlanta. We talked about scoring being down. They can't throw the ball. Like they can't throw the ball, and they're still scoring. And I don't know how they're doing it, but I give those teams some credit. Chicago, I'm not really all that impressed with them. They do go out and score. I really, really like what Justin Fields is doing, but they can't throw the ball a lick, and they're still manufacturing points. I think my surprise would probably be the Philadelphia Eagles, and maybe just the whole NFC East, because you've got the Eagles undefeated. You've got Dallas and the Giants right there. And Washington, they're kind of what we thought they should be, but weren't. They're scrappy. They're not that good, but they're a pain, and they just might sneak up and bite you. So Eagles being undefeated, NFC East being way better than anyone thought, those would probably be my surprises. On the other side, we have teams that we actually did expect some good things from. We were thinking, hey, this might be a playoff team. This might be a contender, and they are falling flat on their faces. Larry, if you had to pick your biggest disappointment at the halfway point, who would you be going with right now?
An emotionally disconnected pick with the Broncos.
Yeah.
And not just because it's home, but by far and away, they've been the biggest disappointment, I think, around. You look at the schedules, you look at the records. I don't know if there's a lot of teams that are not performing up to what we thought they would. Mediocrity, right? But the Broncos aren't doing that, and they were picked, in some circles, to be at or near the top of the division, and they're not. And I think you can look at the other divisions and really kind of say, okay, within a game or two, they're right where we thought they'd be. But yeah, Broncos by far for me.
Rob, your objective here. Who's your biggest disappointment?
Well, I do agree with the Broncos. That would be my first pick. But for me, I'm going to say the Bengals. They're still having a decent season. They're still good. Yeah. They tried hard to address the offensive line, and it complete failure. So it's almost like they didn't do anything at all. So like I said, they're still hanging around there. I think they're still kind of in the mix. But like I said, they knew they had to fix the O-line. They tried to address it. And so far this season, it pretty much looks the same, if not worse.
It does. And they're going to try to get Joe Burrow killed back there. Mm-hmm. And if he goes down, that team's going down the tubes real fast. Yeah, the Bengals, not. We kind of looked at Cincinnati and said, okay, well, they'll win the division and we'll see what they do in the playoffs. They're struggling. They're going to struggle to make the playoffs at this point. I don't know if they're going to make it. Mike, what about you? What do you have for a disappointment so far in the NFL this year?
Well, of course, I'm going to pile on our Broncos.
Sure.
And again, emotionally, we're disgusted here locally because of the offseason hype and things like that. But it wasn't just local. It was the whole NFL saying, all right, they're finally going to compete with the Chiefs. Are looking good for big turnaround. MVP possibility for Russell, yada, yada, yada. The Colts to me have disappointed. I thought they
Badly.
were an above average quarterback away from doing very well and probably winning that division. I think I had them winning that division. And they cannot, and it surprises me. Their offensive line
Really
is
bad.
terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
We said Matt Ryan, you put Matt Ryan behind a good offensive line,
He'll
and that's
be
a good
okay.
recipe.
Yeah.
Good wide receivers, good running back. Okay, injuries, but the offensive line is terrible. Ryan's been a bust. I got to throw the Colts in there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would probably go Colts. I would go Broncos, and I have to throw this out there. The Super Bowl champ, Los Angeles Rams, are not looking all that great.
Yep.
And they are
another
struggling
one.
to make a playoff right now, and we're going to see if they can put things together. Matt Stafford hasn't looked very good. He's banged up. We knew going into the season he had some problems with a thumb, I think it is, but he hasn't looked great all the time, and they've been really, really inconsistent with what they do. A number of teams that have been disappointing. Here, we'll just go around real quick. If you had to pick, not that you'd want it, we're not wishing it. If you had to pick a coach that was going to get fired first, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hackett here in Denver? Frank Reich with the Colts? Maybe Dennis Allen down in New Orleans? Dan Campbell with Detroit? Cliff Kingsbury is always a popular pick. Number of ways you could go. Rob, who would be getting fired first out of this whole group?
Sad to say this with you guys here, but I'm going to say Hackett.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it just seems over his head. Like I said, can't tell if he's a good coach or not. But I just don't think he's the guy to turn that around. So I think he's got to go first.
That could happen real easily. He bought some time with that win over Jacksonville, but I don't know if Jacksonville's very good. Larry, who's getting fired first?
Oh boy. I'll go out and say Kingsbury. I don't know that I think maybe his time has come. I don't know though. I mean, he probably should have been fired before. I like the fact that he's stuck around, give him a chance and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Hackett will be fired. But so if I was going to put money on it, it'd be Kingsbury.
Mike, you got a coach that should be real careful right now what he's doing.
Well, I definitely agree that Hackett is in over his head. The first 2-3 weeks were an absolute embarrassment with the incompetence and clock management and everything. That's been smoothed over a little bit, but this offense, I don't know. I don't know what is going on with the offense, but here's the thing. Let me take a higher 10,000 foot view of this. In the preseason, a lot of us were saying the AFC West was easily going to be the best division.
Sure.
The fourth place team could be 10-7.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, you could have half of the teams with new coaches next year. I think McDaniels is on the hot seat.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I think Josh McDaniels is on a real hot seat.
Since 1960, the Raiders have blown 17-point leads, a total of 5 teams. They've done it 5 times. They've done it 3 times this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think Joshy might be on a hot seat and not, he's in the same situation as Hackett. It's first year. You got to give him some time, but it's not that. It's that his team seems to have quit on him. And that's what I don't understand. Yeah. I think Josh might be in some trouble. And again, it's a first year coach at that job, but we thought he learned things when he was in Denver. And now it almost seems like he hadn't learned anything whatsoever. Okay. Let's dive into the divisional outlooks and let's start with the AFC East, where the Buffalo Bills are on top of the division, but they stumbled this week against the Jets. I still think Buffalo's a contender, although I've said before, I do worry about Josh Allen. He takes way too many hits, and I know he's bigger, stronger, faster. It doesn't matter, except it does, and everyone gets broken in this league at some point. I worry about that. I don't understand the New York Jets. I'll be the first to admit. I don't know if they're good or not. I see them beat the Bills. I see them beat the Dolphins. They lose to New England. They almost lost to Denver. It makes no sense whatsoever. The Miami Dolphins might be a contender. if you trust the health of Tua and that defense and the team doctors, and then the New England Patriots, I don't know what to think about them either. They've got a quarterback problem. They are good against bad teams sometimes. Mike, who are the playoff teams going to be coming out of the AFC East? Is it just going to be one? Are we going to get two? Or are we going to get three?
God, that is a confusing division, isn't it?
Really?
You just went over it. I mean, I think I know all of us predicted the Bills to pretty much run away with that division. I don't know if anybody even had a wild card coming out of there. And now you've got every team over 500. So
Yeah.
I gotta think there's going to be at least one of those teams that'll pop in for a wild card. I mean, just looking at the rest of the AFC with the extra wild card in now, with the extra, the third wild card, I got to think somebody's going to sneak in there, and it could legitimately be any of the other three teams.
Yeah, it could.
Patriots with strong defense, good coaching. Dolphins, absolute dynamic offense.
Yes.
Terrible defense.
Yeah.
And boy, the Jets, has Salah figured it out? So I don't know. I don't know if I trust their quarterback.
Has Zach Wilson figured it out? And the answer is no.
Yeah,
I don't know. Mike, if you had to pick, who's getting out?
I would say I'm gonna say Bills and Patriots.
Woo! Bills and Patriots. Rob, what about you? Who do you have coming out of the AFC East?
I got Bills winning the division, and I'm gonna give a wild card to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going to go that same route. I'm going to go Bills, and I'm going to go Dolphins. Larry, what about you? Who's coming out of that Eastern division?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Bills, Dolphins.
Bills, Dolphins.
Yeah, and I'm not totally convinced that the Bills are going to be the ones winning the division either. So one of the two. Ooh. But I think it'll shape up through the next. We got a long next half of the season. I think it'll be Buffalo and mine. Yep.
All right. Well, it's going to be interesting because the only team that no one did pick was the Jets. It's really hard for me to believe in Zach Wilson just yet.
Yeah.
He does some things that you go, wow, he has some serious potential. And then he'll make a play and you'll go, really? That's the play you made. Man, I don't understand it. It's like making a move on a dude's mom. We move next to the NFC East, where the Philadelphia Eagles are still undefeated. We aren't sure if the Giants or the Dallas Cowboys are for real, but they look pretty strong. The Washington Commanders, like we talked about earlier, they are tough. They're scrappy. I don't know that they're that good. They may find a way to lose, but they're pretty tough. I'm not sure exactly how to feel about this division as far as playoffs go. Rob, who are going to be the teams coming out of the NFC East?
Yeah, I've got the Eagles taking the division, and I'm going to give Cowboys the wild card. Just with that defense, Dak is back healthy now. I think they can do enough to sneak in as a wild card. So Eagles division, Cowboys wild card.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking too. Although I don't know, I feel like I could be talked into. I think I'm going to go Eagles, Giants coming out of the East. But I think it's going to be between the Giants and the Cowboys coming down to it. Let's go next to Mike. Mike, NFC East, who is going to be making these playoffs?
Yeah, another surprising, like I mentioned on my surprises is the Giants. Do they know how to win yet, though?
I don't know.
And I think that may be why we all shied away from the Jets is, do they know how to win towards the end of the season when you've got years and years and years of losing and failing. So I'm gonna parrot what you guys were saying there, Eagles and Cowboys.
Eagles and Cowboys. All right, we'll go next to Larry. Larry, NFC East, who is coming out of that thing?
Eagles win the division. I'll take both Dallas and the Giants.
You're gonna go out three
as wild card. Yeah. I look around at the NFC and I don't see a lot of other wild card teams. So, and I think I've seen enough. I don't follow them every weekend, but I've seen the Giants play tough. So I'll throw them in the mix in the wild card too.
Couple of side notes about that division. One, did you guys see Jerry Jones' Halloween costume? Jerry dressed up as a blind referee. And I guess blind people were really, really upset. I'm not sure who told them. We move next to the AFC North, where the Baltimore Ravens could be getting better. They added Roquan Smith. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the hunt, but they're really, really inconsistent. The offensive line is a problem. The Cleveland Browns, well, they don't look very good, but remember, they are getting back quarterback Deshaun Watson soon. That's only, like less than a month away. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers are, well, they're pretty dreadful. Larry, who is going to come out of the AFC North? Are the Bengals going to rally? Are they going to figure this out? Can the return of Deshaun Watson get the Browns to kind of settle in, pitch a tent, and make a run at this division?
No tent pitching.
Okay.
On the show, please.
Well, we'll see.
No, I'm going to go with Baltimore winning the division.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati is good enough to get a wild card.
Okay. You're going to go Ball and Cincy.
Yep.
Mike, you're up. AFC North, it's kind of top heavy with those first two teams, Cincy and Baltimore. Anybody else going to get in, or either of those two going to get in? What do you have coming out of the AFC North?
Well, I'm going to be stubborn and stick with my preseason pick with Cincy winning the division and Baltimore at the wild card.
All right. Going to stay the same. We're going to go next to Rob. Rob, AFC North, who is coming out of that bad boy?
I've got it the same as Mike, but in reverse. Ravens division, Bengals wild card.
Okay. And I think I am going to go. I'll go Ravens, and then I'll go Bengals wild card. They'll figure out something, won't they? I would think that they almost have to. We'll see if they can protect Joe Burrow enough to not get him killed. Up next, we have the NFC North, where the Minnesota Vikings look like they're just going to run away with the division. And some of that is because Minnesota is pretty solid. Some of it is because the rest of the division is primarily garbage. The Packers are bad. The Bears are scrappy and bad. And the Lions are bad. Mike, are the Vikings the only team going to come out of this division? And if Kirk Cousins actually wins a playoff game, does the world end?
Well, I don't know about that second one, but
okay.
I don't know if it'll even happen, but they are running away with this division, and I don't think that there's going to be anybody close. The Packers, I think we all kind of predicted them to fall off, but wow.
Yeah, they could have been a disappointment for all of us, huh?
Holy smokes, have they fallen further than I think we all thought they were going to. So no, I think it's Vikings, and that's it.
Just Vikings getting in. Larry, what about you? Any chance for those other teams? Just going to be Vikings for you?
Yeah, just Vikings for me. I think we all predicted, Aaron Rodgers has no weapons. Turning out that way. So yeah, just Minnesota for me.
And turning out that way, and also making him really grumpy and grouchy in the process. Rob, coming out of the NFC North, anybody gonna push Minnesota?
No, just the Vikings.
Yeah. That division, I thought that might be a really competitive division. It's turned out to not be very competitive whatsoever. We move on to the AFC South, and that's a division that I don't think any of us had real high expectations for, and yet it's still disappointing me somehow. The Titans are on top. They look good against bad teams. Sometimes they're okay against the good teams, but they don't have a quarterback, and that's a concern for me. The rest of the division, though, it's pretty terrible. Rob, the Colts have been disappointing. The Jaguars, they're young, they're inconsistent. The Texans, they look like they're going to be bad for a while. The Titans just win this by default, don't they?
Yeah, I want to pick the Jags.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, still kind of young, not ready. So yeah, just give me Titans win the division by default, and that's the only team that makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't see how anyone else can get in. They just don't have the people yet. And then you have Indy, who has the people and don't know what to do with them. Mike, who do you have coming out of the AFC South? Is it just a one-team race?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, the Colts, like I spoke about earlier, were such a disappointment. Titans, I had them as a wild card, but I got to flip it. They're the only team coming out of the South.
Yeah, I would agree. Larry, you got anybody going to make a big run in the second half of the season?
No, I don't think so. I took Tennessee to win the division.
Yeah.
The shot in the dark. Indy, I could have picked, to be one of the bigger disappointments. But no, I think Tennessee division winner and nobody else.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It looks like we're going to have a one-team race there. We move over to the NFC South. And the story with the NFC South, to me, a lot is injuries, because I think this division has a chance to really change in the second half of the season. By the end of the year, we might be looking back and going, who was in first place? That seems kind of weird, because we all thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints would be the playoff teams. They've been really banged up injury-wise. They don't have all their people. And instead, we have the Atlanta Falcons, who I picked to probably be one of the worst teams in the league. They're not pretty, but they're grinding their way out to being competitive. But I could see Tampa getting better. I could see New Orleans getting better. We're going to have to see which of those teams does. Oh, and also the Carolina Panthers, they might be the worst team in the league. Larry, who do you like coming out of the NFC South?
This is hard, right?
Very hard.
This is probably the hardest division to call. It's so tight. I think you can throw Carolina out of there.
Yep.
I'm going to stick, because it's so tight, I'll stick with my preseason. I'll stick with New Orleans. I don't see, and if that does happen, I don't see the others getting enough games to get a wild card. So I'm probably going against the grain here, but I'm going with New Orleans to win the division, and that's who's coming out of the South.
You're going to give the Saints a nod to get in. All right, we go next to Mike. Mike, NFC South, who's coming out?
God, yeah, this is just only because one team has to win the division is it going to happen, right? So I don't know. The Saints defense has been disappointing this year.
Very.
They're lost Michael Thomas, got an owie on his toe.
Michael Thomas hates football.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on there. I actually had this. I'm pretty sure I had the Saints winning the division. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think strictly because he's going to will them to it. I think maybe at 9-8 or something that Tom Brady gets the Bucs into the playoffs.
Yeah, I could see that. Rob, you are the last one on the clock here. What do you have coming out of the NFC South?
Yeah, I think preseason I had Saints and Bucks, but I'm bailing on the Saints.
Me too.
Injuries, quarterbacks can't decide. So I'm bailing on the Saints. I think the Bucks win the division by default, and that's the only team that comes out, just the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Atlanta has been a really fun story. I think they've been cute, but when it comes down to the second half of the season, I think Tom Brady is going to make that team win, whether they want to win or not. And we know watching that offensive line is painful, but Brady, just like he did this week against the Rams, they had no business winning that game. And he kind of made them win that game. Plus, I feel like that defense has to get better. Like they're talented. They have a lot of guys, and they're not really doing a whole lot. I think we kind of are all set on that one. Let's move on to the AFC West, a division that we said prior to the year could be one of the toughest, or maybe they would just beat each other up. And I would say this division is one of the biggest disappointments of the year. The Kansas City Chiefs are without a doubt a Super Bowl contender. The Los Angeles Chargers are really erratic. I don't trust them. The Denver Broncos are bad. The Las Vegas Raiders are worse. Mike, is this going to be a one-team playoff division? We thought there might be three. Is it going to be one?
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, we most people, not just us, thought that there could, in minimum two, possibly all three wild cards coming out of this division, and now you got just the dumpster fire that's the AFC West right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers are talented. I don't know if I trust their defense, which is interesting because they loaded up on defense, but boy, injury bugs again. It's year after year after year with this team. I don't know. But just I think it's Chiefs, of course, winning the division again.
Right.
I think Chargers sneak in as a wild card. I do.
Okay. All right. And I mean, when you look at that roster, they should, right? Like they're really, really talented. Rob, who's getting in out of the AFC West?
Yeah, I've got two. I think preseason I had Chargers winning the division and Chiefs as the wild card. But I'm going to flip it. Same two teams. Chiefs take the division, and Chargers are going to get in as a wild card.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We go next to Larry. Larry, Broncos going to make a big late season push, aren't they? Who's coming out of the AFC West?
No, Denver's not going to make a late season push. Kansas City will win, I think. Chargers will sneak in on a wild card. But it certainly does feel like, and everybody keeps telling us how great the Chiefs are.
Yeah.
They haven't looked as great, as everybody I think purports them to be. So I think the Chargers hang around. I think, late game or late season matchups might determine who actually wins the division. Chargers, I think, are still have the talent there, and so far they might be a game or two after a couple of weeks separated, but that's not much, right? That
Right.
can be made up. So yeah, but I'll go with Kansas City winning, Chargers wild card.
Okay. And I think we're all in that same boat. I will go that same way as well. The one thing that always worries me about those Chargers, they play to the level of competition. Doesn't matter if they're playing, the Eagles or if they're playing the Lions. They're going to play to that level. And we know, because here in Denver, we always play the Chargers pretty tough. And there's no reason that we should. They should be way better than us. And I don't understand why we're even in those games, but that's how they roll. That's what they do. And let's be real honest. That head coach really loves him, and he loves to prove how smart he is every week. And then he goes out and does dumb things like going for it on his own 30-yard line with the game hanging in the balance, and he doesn't need to do it. So I could easily see him outsmarting himself out of the playoffs, but I'm going to go Chiefs, and I'm going to go Chargers getting in. We finish off with the NFC West, where the surprising Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith are on top. The Los Angeles Rams, they've struggled at times, but they still have pieces. They could get healthy. They could get better. The San Francisco 49ers have a ton. They should be making a run, but we don't always trust that quarterback. And then the Arizona Cardinals, well, they have half a quarterback. Rob, could there be 3 teams coming out of the NFC West?
Yes, I've got 3 teams coming out. Give me the 49ers to win the division.
Okay.
They get healthy. We already mentioned CMC down there. Give me Seahawks as a wild card.
Yep.
And the Rams are the very last team in. They somehow make it and sneak in.
I was really hoping you're going to say Cardinals. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I'm going to go with those 3 teams as well, coming out of the NFC West and getting 3 teams in: Rams, Seahawks, and Niners. I will go. Yeah, I'll probably go Niners to win the division, and the other 2 are wild cards. Larry, you're up. NFC West, who's getting in?
Hey, they proved me wrong, so I got to go with them. I'm taking Seattle to win the division. I'll take the 49ers to be a wild card. At this stage, I do not see the Rams making up enough ground, because they haven't fixed. It doesn't look like they're fixed. It doesn't look like they're on a roll. And we're going into the second half of the season, so they are going to lose some games. They've only won 3. So I don't see where the math makes sense here, but yeah, and I was proved wrong with Seattle, so I'll take Seattle and San Fran.
Okay. All right, Mike, who is coming out of that NFC West? You got 1 team, you got 3 teams, you got 4 teams.
Yeah, I got my head says I shouldn't make this call, but I'm stubborn because there's no way they're going to make it. But I picked the Rams in the Super Bowl, but they may not make the playoffs. But I'm gonna. God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I got the Hawks winning the division.
Yeah,
with the Niners nipping at their heels and a good wild card, and the Rams squeaking in.
Okay, so 3 of us have 3 teams coming out of that division. Pretty amazing. One little quick stat I want to throw out to you. Teams right now, best strength of schedule, and I'll kind of give you a top 5. I don't know if it'll affect your thinking, but based on who they have played record-wise, the Washington Commanders have the toughest schedule that they have played so far. The Houston Texans are second. The New York Giants are third. The New England Patriots are fourth. And the Indianapolis Colts are fifth. If we go down to the bottom, the softest schedule played so far, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 28, the Kansas City Chiefs at 29. Then we have the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons at 31. That should concern you a little bit. And the Baltimore Ravens at 32. Not really any questions here, but just kind of something to throw out to everyone. When you think about those teams, that who's playing the big dogs, how are they stacking up against the competition every week? Because that's not always an accurate trend, because we're still figuring things out right now. But something to kind of keep in mind as far as who has played who so far. Let me run down this list real quick. Rob, I could be wrong, but here's what I have. In the AFC, you've got the Bills, the Dolphins, you've got the Baltimore Ravens, the Bengals, the Tennessee Titans, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Los Angeles Chargers making the playoffs, correct?
Yep, that's right.
All right, we go next to Larry. In the AFC, you have the Bills, Dolphins, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Kansas City, and the Chargers.
Rob's a smart man. Yes.
Mike, you've got the Bills, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. I've got the Bills, Dolphins, Bengals, Ravens, Titans, Chiefs, and Chargers. Okay, so we're all pretty much the same. We go to the NFC side. Rob, you've got the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Rams, right?
Yep.
Larry, you've got the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants, Vikings, the Saints, the 49ers, and the Seahawks.
Correct.
Okay. Mike, you go Eagles, Cowboys, Vikings, Buccaneers, Rams, Seahawks, Niners.
Yep.
Okay. And then I have the Eagles and the Giants getting in, Vikings, Buccaneers, Rams, Seahawks, Niners. Okay. So there's our playoff teams that we have right now. Crazy thing is, we know things are going to change. We know we're going to be looking back at the midseason and going, why did we think that team was good? How did we not see this one coming? Because that's just how the NFL is. It's so unpredictable from week to week. But right now, and I know we're only halfway through, we still have so much to go. If you were picking a coach of the year candidate who actually is doing good things, and I know here in Denver, we don't really know what that looks like. But if you were picking a team that was getting good coaching, Rob, who would be your coach of the year at the midway point so far?
I think we mentioned him already, but Pete Carroll for me.
Yeah.
Seahawks coming in. Like I said, you were just questions about the talent, but I mean, they're playing good. Geno, they had a rookie running back, Kenneth Walker. I mean, they look good, well coached. So yeah, give me Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's got to be in the conversation. He has done a phenomenal job. And in a year that we kind of didn't expect anything from him, he's making Geno successful. He understands how to get the most out of what he's dealt. We did notice Drew Lock's not getting on the field, though. Mike, you're picking a coach of the year candidate at the halfway point. Who would you be going with right now?
Boy, Carroll is going to get a lot of votes as long as they don't just fall off the face of the earth. But I got to give a nod to Robert Saleh.
Yeah. Who saw the Jets doing anything?
No, nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
And
Incredible rookie in Sauce Gardner.
Yep.
Getting enough out of Zach Wilson and just playing. He's kind of playing as a good team. I like what he's doing.
Well, and it isn't always pretty, but they kind of grind their way. They play good defense. They make you play sometimes an ugly game like they did with Buffalo this week. He's finding ways to win games. There's a lot to be said for that in the coaching ranks. Larry, if you were picking your coach of the year candidate, who would you be going with right now?
Yeah, a couple. Brian Daboll has been mentioned.
Yeah.
But I'm going back to I sound like a Seattle fan. I'm going with Pete Carroll, just from what he's done, from what I thought, was going to happen there. He's getting a lot out of the team. I don't know if he actually knows that he's getting a lot out of it.
He probably doesn't.
But he is. If all he does is run up and down the sideline, then good for him. But,
I mean, he's chewing his gum. He's chewing his gum. He's having fun. Woo! He does a lot of that. Does a lot of woos. You don't get a lot of woos, but you get a lot of woos from Pete.
Yes.
And you brought up the guy that I would probably give it to. I might go with Brian DeBall with the New York Giants. Again, we just didn't see anything coming from the Giants. We're going, oh, they're going to be a cellar dweller. They're scrappy. I don't know if they're as good as their record. I kind of feel like they're probably going to drop off a little bit in the second half. And yet, if you had said going into the season, hey, the Giants are going to be right there making a playoff push, what are you, crazy?
Right.
I don't know if they're that good, but he has them thinking they're that good. And there's something to be said for that. If you're going to be naming a most valuable player at the midseason point, number of teams that you could choose from, a number of prospects you could go with, because there are a lot of guys that have proven really, really valuable to their teams. Rob, who is going to be your most valuable player right now? And I know we got a lot way to go, but who's your most valuable player, at least right now?
I'm going to say Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Ravens, kind of pretty much doing everything. You know, and like I said, if he goes down, I mean, that's completely a wrap. But like I said, just, you know, not a lot of receivers, running backs always hurt, and he's just kind of, I feel like, just carrying them, So I'm going to say Lamar Jackson.
Good call. And he definitely deserves some votes, and he should get them. My only concern with him getting them is we know how writers are stupid, and they're like, oh, we gave it to him a few years ago. We can't give it to him again. Well, he's doing it with no help, so he deserves it. Mike, if you were going to go most valuable player right now, who would you be looking at as your most valuable player?
Well, I'm a little surprised Rob didn't go with a homer pick. I think Hurts
I could have.
Nice
of him.
But this past week notwithstanding, but I think Josh Allen is probably going to end up with it. I think Buffalo ends up winning the division, and mostly on his shoulders. So I'm going to pick Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen is so big and so strong and so talented. And we saw him on Sunday late in that game. He's kind of holding that elbow, concerns me. And then the very next play, he uncorks like a 50-yard pass, and he flicked it. Like he didn't even wind up for it. And you're going, that's a bad elbow? What does a good elbow look like? My goodness, that kid has a cannon for an arm. Physically, he is a freak. And you make a good point, Mike, because I think the writers really want to give it to Josh Allen. So that's a very good call. Larry, most valuable player at the midway point, who would you be giving it to?
I think it would be easy to go the Josh Allen route. I think he's done a lot of good things. I see him throw a lot of balls in the dirt, but if they're winning, then it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. He's going to get the credit. But I am going to go with Jalen Hurts. I think he's got that team going. I think he has matured as a quarterback. So he's got them right where they want, and I think he's had a lot to do with it. As much to do with that as Josh Allen has had to do with Buffalo success, and with the Eagles being undefeated. I think he's the guy.
Well, and the Eagles, it's not just that they're undefeated. They look really balanced. They look really good on both sides of the ball, good on both the offensive and defensive line. Philadelphia Eagles are going to be a problem coming down the stretch. And we talked about it a little bit. They may drop a game or two, but they're going to be tough. They're going to be a pain. Mm-hmm. We'll see how they do in the second half. If I was giving a most valuable player, I'd give it to someone that is going to sound really stupid because he's already won it. But if you take Derrick Henry off the Tennessee Titans, that is a garbage franchise. They don't have a quarterback. They literally don't have a quarterback. And somehow that guy who is just Earl Campbell part 2, and we're going, okay, he has to wear down this year. Okay, he has to wear down this year. He's still doing it. I think I would cast my vote for Derrick Henry because everyone knows he's getting the ball. The whole stadium knows he's getting the ball. You can't do anything about it. Good luck.
He's fun to watch too, boy.
He's just such a tough runner.
Such old school, and with the runners today, that a good run is 10 yards, but he just plows over people. He runs the same way he has for years. It's just fun to watch.
Nothing.
I don't know if you saw the statistic on most 200-yard rushing games, but number one obviously is Derrick Henry with 6. Second place with 4 is Derrick Henry only playing the Houston Texans.
Well, that's just not nice. That's, that's unfair, man. He's made a living off that Houston squad, hasn't he? Wow. Yeah. Derrick Henry's just a sledgehammer, and I would make him my MVP, because if you take him off that team, that's not even close to a playoff team. That is, they're in the running for worst team in the league. They are the Houston Texans without Derrick Henry. It is that close. Okay, gentlemen, it is coming down to it. We're going to have to go out and we're going to have to make a pick and kind of decide who is going to be going to Super Bowl 57. Again, we're only halfway through. We know our picks back at the beginning. I'm going to make a change on mine. I'm going to stick with one side. I picked the Indianapolis Colts to face the Philadelphia Eagles. The Colts have let me down, but the Eagles are coming through for me.
You changing?
I'm going to stick with the Colts. I'm going to change up the Eagles. No, yeah, the Colts, they've been so terrible. Obviously, they're not even a playoff situation. I am going to make that change here in just a second, but I'm trying to decide who to change it to. Rob, I'm going to put you on the spot again. You had, going into the year, you had Ravens versus Rams.
Yes.
Going to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Would you like to amend that pick in any way?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like you and change half of it.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with the Ravens. I'm not
Woo!
jumping off the ship yet.
I like it.
Like I said, I still like Bills and the Chiefs over there, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay with the Ravens.
Okay.
I am replacing the Rams. I'll join you with the Eagles.
All right. I like it. See, he wasn't even hard to talk into that. That was easy. Rob goes Ravens versus Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Next up, we have Mike. Mike, you had Bills versus Rams, I believe, in Super Bowl 57 at the beginning of the year. Remember, we did these back in like August. That was a long time ago. Now we're adjusting. We're, letting the water settle a little bit. Would you like to change that pick at all?
Oh, 100%, or 50%, as it were. I'm going to stick
Okay.
with the Bills.
All right.
And you know what? I have a hard time. I'm going to pick Philadelphia, but I think
Okay.
it's going to be a hell of a championship game between Philadelphia and the Niners.
Oh, yeah, I could totally see that. San Francisco, if you're not going to make a run now, like, when are you going to make a run? You have a ton of weapons, and Jimmy G, but you have a ton of weapons. Like, you should make your run right now. The NFC is there for the taking. If you could just take it, we'll have to see if the Niners can pull that together. But yeah, I like that pick. Larry, you had an all Los Angeles Super Bowl 57. You had Chargers versus Rams when we picked back in the late summer. Would you like to amend your pick?
I'm going to amend my picks.
You're going to change them both.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm the captain of my own shipwreck here. I'm going to go with KC, and I'm going to go with Philadelphia.
Oh, Larry, you're taking my pick here.
No, sorry about that.
No, I don't mind. All right. So we have made some changes. Now it comes back to me. I am going to make my pick as well, and I am going to change mine. I like Kansas City. To me, is the team that even though they look, sometimes they look like they are without a doubt a Super Bowl contender. And then some weeks they come out and they lose to the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know exactly what to make of them. I think I'm going to go Kansas City, and I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. I can't change that one up. I'm going to have to ride that one up. So, Larry, I'm right there with you. I'm going to have to stay KC, and I'm going to go Eagles. Well, we have gone through. We have made playoff picks. We have picked some people that are going to get fired. We have picked the most valuable players. We have picked who is going to Super Bowl 57. So now everyone knows. You can watch the games if you want to, but we've already kind of told you how it's going to turn out. But we need to finish this out. We want to get some closing thoughts from everybody. We're midway through the season. Maybe you want to talk about the NFL. Maybe you've got a different subject to talk about. It is your show right now. Rob, you're first up. You've gone back-to-back weeks here. You've put in the work. You've done our college football midseason. Now you've done our NFL midseason. Do you have any final thoughts for us here at the Daly Dose right now?
Nah, I love football.
Yeah.
Best time of the year. College going off, NFL, playoffs coming up for both. I look forward to both of them. But yeah, I'm just glad it's football season.
Oh, it just gets no better. And I know, the weather starts to get cooler. We had to change our stupid clocks back and the whole thing. But man, it just is so good when you can just settle in and watch football for like 48 straight hours. It just gets no better than that. It is a wonderful time of the year. Mike, you are up next. What do you have? Any final thoughts for us as we head into the second half of the NFL season?
Yeah, I'll echo the same sentiment. And right now, after this past weekend, both Alabama and Clemson were wishing the playoffs were expanded.
Yes.
But it's a good thing here in Denver that we've got two other franchises that are very promising, because
Right.
it's kind of dry and ugly for the college football scene here in Colorado and
the
NFL.
worst. Yeah. And isn't that weird? We're such a football crazy state. Our college football is horrible. Air Force every year is our best program, and not close. Best program by far. And then the Broncos just can't get out of their own way right now. It's just so weird. We're such a football crazy state and we have no good football. Makes me sick. We're actually having to watch the Denver Nuggets. And we already know how that movie's ending, by the way.
If we
We can
watch
pretend.
Denver. If
can
you
pretend.
can watch Denver Nuggets.
Yeah. Because if you don't have the right cable network or whatever, you can't even do that. Oh, it's just disgusting. Larry, you're the wily veteran. You're the savvy veteran. What do you got for us? What final thoughts do you have for us at the midseason point?
Well, a couple things. First of all, there will be football in Colorado when Utah comes to town to play CU. So we can all tune in for that one. Shout out to Air Force, Commander-in-Chief's trophy.
Yeah.
Good for them. And then I was just going to save the rest of my final thoughts to go over our ballots that are due. If you guys don't mind, you can get those out. We
Not
can
at all.
talk
Not at all.
Make sure you guys voted for the right people.
Is
that good, or
well,
is this a no politics show?
That's going to be on the Daly Dose Politics podcast. We're going to do that a little bit later this week, and we're just going to talk about how I equally hate both sides and hope they all die in a fiery inferno. If I get one more call,
I actually wrote you in for county commissioner. I hope that's okay.
Well,
commissioner, I wrote you in for governor.
I'm no longer on the water board, so I'm free to hold whatever office I can get elected to.
If I have to get one more piece of cardboard mail that I just directly throw right in the trash can, like I don't even look at it, I just right into the garbage can. I hate this time of year.
Now, Clint, thanks for having us, man. This is awesome. I love the midseason. It shows me how bad my predictions are. And it always resets us, right? Because crazy things happen. We can predict that. So we get a chance to reset. So thank you.
Well, and the thing is about it is we sit here and we go, oh man, I missed this pick or we missed that pick. Keep in mind the experts on the big networks picks, because we also have Desmond Howard and we know who he picked in his college football playoff. That idiot. Anyways, yeah, it is always fun to come back in at the midway point and kind of look at some teams that were like, oh, we thought this would be better, we thought this would be worse, and kind of see where we're at. But we know in another 8 or 9 weeks, we're going to be looking at the landscape and going, what were we thinking? We didn't get any of this right, because it just changes so fast, and we see it every week. The NFL is nothing if not completely, entirely unpredictable.
Our midseason show, nobody had Cincinnati doing a dang thing.
No, they weren't going to make the postseason. Oh, they're cute. They're like a year. I think we even said the words, they're a year or two away.
Yeah.
They go close to the Super Bowl. But when you think back to that run and them just scraping by in the first round against Tennessee, I believe, and then they get rolling. That Chiefs game was going to be a blowout, but that's how the NFL is. You just don't know until that final gun sounds. And honestly, isn't that why we love it? Because we can talk about, hey, other sports are unpredictable. We all knew Houston was going to win that World Series. We all know Golden State's going to, be right there. We kind of know. In the NFL, we have no idea. We really don't. There are 8 teams right now that could probably win the whole thing if things break right and if injuries go their way. And that's what makes the NFL so awesome every single year. And I know there are people that are down on it and they do a lot of dumb things and get a lot of things wrong, but man, it's fun to watch every single week.
It is. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming in. I want to thank you for stopping by whenever we get the chance. Hey, playoffs are coming. Might have to do a little playoff preview, kind of see what's going to be shaking out at that point. And then, of course, we know at the end of that Super Bowl, we might have to jump on and break down how this all went down. But I want to say thank you very much for coming in, talking some NFL and breaking down how things are shaping up and how things are going to break as we go into the second half of the season. I genuinely appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clint.